guess this is what we got right now. Trying to dress up for this a little bit. We're live, and I didn't expect it, but we're gonna roll with it. I didn't even plug in a mic or anything, so if you guys can't hear, let me know. Trying to dress up and be nice and fancy again, especially since we're doing a Neville episode. And the reasoning for this is my gears are getting grinded by all this stupid shit with AI voice to Neville, where it's just someone's own thoughts and opinions put out there through Neville's voice so people listen to it. If you have your own experiences and you have things you want to share online, you should share it with your own face and voice. Do not steal someone else's through AI. That pisses me the fuck off. So, to everyone who's doing AI Neville shit, you can all go suck it, because this is going to be the last place possibly where we can find it before things get too lost. If I see how the future is going, it's going to be a lot of AI stuff. I like Akira the Don. Even he has AI stuff. I mean, he may have actually taken stuff from Neville's books, but I heard the AI immediately and I turned it off because it pissed me off. So from there, I'm just going to say we're going to Apple Music. This is a place where you can find it. There are a couple channels. I will share them. They actually have the real thing. I'm going to find a way to record them, try to clean up the audio. But a good sign that you have a real Neville video is when the audio is shitty and old from like the 1940s and 50s and 60s. He died in, I believe, 1973. I believe that's when he died, 1973. So I want to just go forward. Anything here that sounds old is probably him. Anything with a struggled, cleaned up audio is him. So going forward with regular content, I'm going to make regular manifesting videos per your request and per things I think are important. I want to, for the membership channel, start reading stuff about doing like a book club, which we have a book club as part of Discord. But I want to do like a review stuff, a little bit more of a review on the membership channel, which is something we're going to work into. And I'm going to go through a lot of Neville posts or books. And number one, for the future lives or every other live or whatever, for the foreseeable future, I want to go over this stuff before it gets lost to time. So if you guys are here for it, I love it. So I see we got Inked, what's up? Glizzy Gobbler, my favorite, I love it. Manifesting Mandrill, what's up, buddy? And I think we got a good group going here. I know we got a good group going here. So I'm dressed up. We're going to be dressed up in honor of Neville. So I know a lot of people on the channel have mentioned stuff about, you know, they liked it when I was reading the chapters and reviewing and breaking down what he said. They liked, what's it called? They like when I break down like the audios like that we've done before. So we're gonna go forward with that. So anyway, this live is sounding a little like a Neville lecture, static. Yeah, I had a feeling it was gonna do that. The live started before I had a chance to plug in the mic. I don't know how long the mic's gonna last, so we'll try it. If you guys lose audio, let me know. I'll try to monitor this. I have to do it through the computer and the phone, so if it don't work, let me know. Testing, let me know. Bad blocks, hi. You want me to say hi? There you go. Manifesting Mandrill, you ready for this? All right, cool. We jumped up to 20 viewers. That's pretty good for us. Can you guys hear better now before we begin? And if nobody responds, then we're just going to go forward with it. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, that's better. All right, let's hope it lasts. If you guys see the green die out, that means that I'm cooked and we got to switch back to the other stuff. Anyway, with that, the name of this lecture is called I Am the Truth. It's a real Neville speech. You're not going to hear anything in the beginning. I've already tried to listen to this. If you speak of the Bible, as though it was written, say, this year, and people will go to that for some interpretation of a word or interpretation of a sentence. And here we have a book speaking now of the New Testament. But the oldest known text of the New Testament
has only recently been discovered. Well, 1929, and they are the letters of Paul. And they are not original. They are copies made in the 3rd century. No original autograph of any New Testament text is known by man today. We have copies, and we have copies of copies. But not since the 3rd century have we found anything that resembles, or rather, that could be claimed to be near the original. And when you think that prior to the invention of the printing press, which was in the 15th century, all these were copies. And so you had scribal errors, and you had editorial emendations. And editors are very quick with their pen to change, to alter a text, although they were not present, they were not eyewitnesses, but they'll make it conform to what they want. And so we have these editorial emendations, we have the normal, natural, scribal errors. I know in my own case, my wife is a very well-educated girl, went to Smith College, and she wrote me when I was in the army, once a day anyway, and sometimes 3, sometimes 2 or 3 times. I would always put them in my pocket and read them when I was alone, so I could decipher them. I have taken a letter of hers, it's been written, say, 5, 6 years. And it's cold. And I would say to her, darling, read this for me. She can't even read her own handwriting. Now that happened in this century. Well, scribes are making copies. And there are no 2 copies that really are identical. And we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of copies. And we get translations, mostly of the Latin tongue. And these were written in Hebrew and Arabic. Translations into the Greek, that's one removed. And then from the Greek into Latin. And most of these copies are translations from the Latin, which could not properly express the thought of those who spoke and thought in the Hebraic tongue. Now, to get beyond what we have, to find what really was written. So tonight, you'll find this a little bit different. Here we're looking for the truth, trying to find out what is God's intention for us. We're told in Scripture, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me, but no one. This one is made to say, I came into the world to bear witness to the truth. And you shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. We are told that grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. We are told that in him was life, and the life was the light of men. He makes the statement and puts them all together that he is the true and living way. I am the way and the truth and the life. I'll tell you from my own personal experience, and it's not in Scripture that you can see it, you can't read it that way, as I've just told you, we do not have any original. I am quite sure if the original is ever found, you're going to find the story that I have told in Revelation. If it is ever found, what we have found. As I said, the oldest manuscript is a copy made in the 3rd century. And that's only of the letters of Paul, not of the gospel. Now here, I'll tell you from experience that truth is a fiery spiral stairway. What looks true on one level may not be true on the next higher level. Entirely different on another level. Vision, a complete vision, must extend to include the vertical as well as the horizontal. We only think of the horizontal and think of the relationship of parts to others. It must include all the different levels, a true vision. Now, let me take now a statement which you'll find most disturbing. It's taken from the book of Revelation. You'll find it in the 3rd chapter, the 1st verse. I know your works. You have the name of being alive, and you are dead. The very thought that a man can be dead without knowing that he is, that's disturbing enough. But the possibility of man being dead while he was alive, that's really startling. Without the experience that I have had, it just doesn't make sense. But after you've experienced it, there's not a thing in this world that looks as it looked prior to that experience. I meet friends of mine whose funerals I attended. They do not know that they're dead, because they're not really. They are independent of my perception of them. They argue with me, and I can persuade them that I went to their funeral. I can tell on this level, my friends who know me, do you know Jack? Oh yes, I knew him. Do you know that I attended his funeral? Oh yes, he died. He'll tell me the day, the month, the year. Well, he tells me that he didn't. So on this level, I know those who died, and I can persuade those who are not aware that they did depart, because they have not died, not to themselves. They're very much alive and young and healthy and about their business, trying to make a dollar, trying to do all the things that tried here. Same person, no transforming power in death. And so on one level, here you're told, you have the name of being alive, and you are dead. So he did not believe that he had died. But just imagine the possibility of being dead while you were alive. That I have experienced. To come upon a scene just like this, and everything is so real and so alive. All the people are enjoying the moment. They're dining. I'm looking through this enormous window, a huge, big, glorious bay window. And here everything is animated. The leaves are falling, the grass is moving, the bird is flying, the diners are dining, the waitress is walking, and everyone is animated, and they're all dining and having fun. But now I'm on a different level. They don't see me. I'm seeing them from an entirely different level. In him is life, and the light was the light of men. That is the consciousness of man. And I stopped that activity within me, which was life, which made them appear to be alive. And they all froze. They were all dead. So they were dead while they were alive. They were not animated by anything that they thought. They thought the beating of their heart was because they ate proper food, or they were doing this and doing that and doing the other. And I knew at that moment not one of them lived outside of me. I knew that I was the light of the light that animated those bodies, all of them. As I released the activity within me, which I had arrested, they all continued to fulfill their intentions. I knew I could have changed the intentions, but I had them frozen. And when I released it, which is only an activity, they would have thought that they had initiated a change of heart. And they would have gone on to do what I had commanded. And there was not anything that they had originated. I didn't change it. I simply allowed it to go on. So I know this fiery spiral way that is truth. For he said, I am the truth. He identifies himself as the Son of Man. And as the Son of Man is lifted up. And how is he lifted up? In the same manner that Moses lifted up that fiery serpent in the wilderness. It's a spiral, fiery motion. It's a stairway leading from the depths of generation into regeneration. And when you travel it, there is nothing in this world that really is what it appears to be. But here we are.
All right, let me stop it there. I know we lost a lot of the audience, but it's not important to maintain an audience at this point. Like I said, I'm doing this to maintain the integrity of Neville's work and to kind of review it. Like I said, I'm going to find a way to upload these where there's better quality audio and stuff like that. But in terms of the lives, we're going to go over what he's saying. So he talks about the whole, what is this? We're like 15 minutes in now, 14 minutes in. What we're going through right now, he's using a reference of the Bible's been written like from stuff that was found in the 3rd century after Jesus died. And then after that, there was no printing press till the 1500s. So things were transcribed one person to another. They're just transcribing other people's writings. And it's like the game of telephone. You know, things are going to change as time goes forward. People are going to put their own spins on it, and it's going through 3 different languages. But I believe that it was written in maybe possibly Aramaic, because I think that's what they spoke back then. He's saying Hebrew. I might be wrong, but if I'm wrong, then it's only 3 languages. If he's right, then it was 4. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, he's saying even something that happened in this century of his wife writing him letters when he was away at war to the time now, which I don't know, it's not giving me when this lecture took place. Some of them do tell you when the lectures take place, but he's talking about how things change even in our own personal history. And a quick little story on that would be telling my story about I was crediting a manifesting coach for shutting the door on me and helping me stop a spiral when I was still learning all this. Well, I was talking to a client the other day, and she was curious about what exactly the guy said to get me out of a spiral. I go back and look. I talked myself out of a spiral. He gave like very basic. He's like, "It's okay, you'll be fine." I'm like, "Thank you so much for talking me out of the spiral." But I remembered the story differently from my own memories. Just like this, he's he's saying that his wife forgot her own handwriting at times, and from there it's just like almost we remember a lot of the past wrong. Well, so that's a way you could use for revision. That's just something you could think about when you're revising. It's like if I remember the past wrong most of the time, well, maybe the desired outcome or the desired past was actually what really did happen, and going back and changing it in your mind like that. Then next, he's moving on to the point about a vision or a dream that he had. It's kind of hard to understand what he's saying. he's talking about he finds himself in this state. And Neville is definitely, I believe it's called clairvoyant, when you can see the dead, because he's able to see people, and he claims when they're dead that they're appearing as in their prime, in their 20s and stuff like that. So he's talking about that there's all these worlds happening now, and that we don't ever die, we just keep going on in life. Now, when he's mentioning the um, the world that he's in, whether it's a dream world or a vision that he's in, doesn't really matter. The point is, everything he's doing in that vision, if he believes that someone's going to do this, or they're going to say that, or they're going to do that, they respond exactly that way. But what he says is, it appears that they're making that in their own conscious decision, which is, everyone is you pushed out. So even though he's experiencing it in a vision or a dream, he's having that experience there, but it's the same thing in the real world. There is no difference from whatever realm that he's in through dreaming or visualization and the real world. Sometimes I feel like, and in my own experience, the real world does have a little bit of a time delay. So whenever you're visualizing someone saying something to you or manifesting a certain thing to happen, everything he wanted to witness or people to say or do in that dream world, they did play it out. So so in the real world, people will play out everything that we're visualizing and affirming, and whatever manifesting technique we're using, whatever we're dwelling on, it will play out in the real world. We just experience a little bit of a time delay, but he's talking about a perfect example is in the dream world, he's able to tell about that. So now we'll go back and listen to what he has to say. If you guys have questions, please write them down below. It will give me a reason to stop the video. I'm stopping it where I think people might be tripped up on something.
But we think we are alive. And here I say you have the name of being alive, and you're dead. Those who go beyond into the world called the world of the dead, I would say 99% of them do not know that they experienced the event that you and I call death, because they did not. Nothing dies. The little flower that I put in my lap fell, and all of a sudden it withers. At the end of the day, it's withered. I take it out and I discard it. The flower that blooms once blooms forever. Can't die. Nothing can die. So how could it be told, if it had the intelligence to understand, that it died? It's blooming. How can you say to something that is blooming that it died? How could I convince Jack that I came back from San Francisco, from Los Angeles, rather, and attended his funeral in Haverstraw, New York, and paid for his funeral, and gave him a good Catholic funeral, because his sister demanded it. She didn't pay for it, but she demanded that kind of a funeral. I would have cremated him and taken his ashes and thrown them away. But now she wanted a good Catholic funeral in holy ground. All right, I paid for it. He's in holy ground. And the priest and all came by, and the sister got down and kissed that dead body, got down on her knees, never saw the man. For years, they never spoke to each other. In fact, they disliked each other. But here came the moment, and she got down on her knees, and she embraced her brother, she kissed that dead body. And I walked by, not stopping, because that's not Jack. He discarded that little garment, as I will discard this suit one day. But he doesn't know that he died. He shirked all obligations in this life. He refused to assume any responsibility. And he died just as he lived here, just a child. He died at the age of 50. I would say to Jack, here's the money. Take Vicky out to the park and show the monkeys and show the animals in the little zoo in Central Park. We lived on 55th Street, and the park began at 59. Take her in and show the things. I would walk down the street. He came on back. Many a time I saw this. Took her into a little drugstore, and he ordered up, say, a milkshake, chocolate milkshake. Asked the man for straw. There was 2 straws in one little container. He would break the thing out, give her one, he would take the other, and play a game. See who can finish it first. Well, he drank the whole thing. Give her one little straw, and little Vicky, about 3 years old, she was one straw, and this big man in his 40s, and he is putting his mouth there, and he's drinking the whole thing. That's Jack. He's the same Jack. No transforming power in death whatsoever. So, that statement in the 3rd chapter is true. We haven't found the original. If you ever find the original of this marvelous book, then a complete radical change must take place in this world concerning what man worships as Jesus and as the Christ. I have told my best, or the best that I can tell it, my own personal experience, that must be found in one of those original documents, the true Son of God, that resultant state that reveals God as your own wonderful being, and that is the Lord Jesus. No change of identity. You're still the being that you are, but you're I am. That's the being that you really are. And that Son that comes to reveal you as God the Father is the eternal David, the resultant state of all your experiences as man. But just imagine this fabulous world. We wake in the morning, we see this man died, or that one died, and so many were killed, so many were shot, and here they were dead anyway. Now it frightens people to entertain the thought, but you are an immortal being. You are on all the levels, but you're sound asleep on this level, the level of generation. And when you awake on this level, you will have that fiery spiral stairway, and you'll do it in the twinkle of an eye when you go up. And then you have these experiences that nothing in your world, as you're saying, remains imperfect, because you are perfect. No matter where you go, everything is transformed instantly. You don't work upon it. You do not a thing. You don't raise one finger to make it perfect. You are perfect. Everything in your world is made perfect. But everything. You can conceive the beauty that's in store for you because of your beauty. Because you're glorified. And wherever you go, everything is made perfect without its consent. That's heaven. Heaven is simply the radiation of yourself. If you walk into hell, it turns into heaven. Because you are perfect, and you're wearing the immortal garment, which is forever and forever. And so, you have the name of being alive, and you're dead. And I read unnumbered comments on it, all these commentaries. Not one understands what it's all about, because they're made without vision. And our Bible today is nothing more. You can find 2 copies preceding the invention of the printing press that are duplicates. They could be done in the same day, the same month, but by different scribes. And here's scribal errors plus that habit of editors and that editorial emanation, which is always changing. You can't let it alone. He has to take your script, and you are the eyewitness. No, he's not going to take you as the eyewitness. He is going to become the eyewitness and tell you what you ought to have seen, what you ought to have heard, because he brings to that script his own prefabricated misconception of the theme. And you're telling him exactly what happened to you. I'm quite sure that my present revelation in my book called Resurrection, if put into the hands of any editor today, he would go right through the whole thing with his great pencil. Because he knows David is not the Son of God. He's turned the whole thing out. And he knows that the Father is not Jehovah. Because the Father's name to him is Jesse. And to him the word Jesse is simply a name like his own name, which could be any other name. And all these names have peculiar, marvelous significance. It's not a name like a little tag that you answer because someone calls a name. The name conveys the character of the wearer of that name. And so Jesse is simply Jehovah exists. It is the eternal I am. And that's the father of David. And David is not just a little person. He is the eternal personification of the sum total of all the parts that the Father played. But God played all the parts. He's playing all the parts. So the story I told the other night about this lady in the swimming pool, I've been waiting for confirmation of that experience. So it came this past week, when floating on her back, and suddenly she felt my presence. She didn't see me. I could have made myself manifest to her. I could have appeared to her, but that would have spoiled the entire picture. She then would have seen two. She would have seen Neville and herself. But no, she felt that she was Neville. And yet she didn't lose her own identity. So she felt, I am Neville. And yet I am Laura. I am the same being. And now, from now on, says she, I will no longer use the plural. Not we for present, but I. For I am you. And then she floated, filled with wine, to an overflowing with wine, which is the Spirit, as told in Scripture. He turned the water on which she was floating into wine, and she was filled with the wine of the Spirit. As she felt now my presence, and I am the very one who is floating. And yet she didn't lose her identity. That's what I tell you, when I depart, where would I go? I have no place to go but within heaven, and heaven is within me. I can make myself visible if it is necessary, but there's no need for it. My presence will be there. For in the end, only one being is returning from the entire story, and that is God.
All right, I'm gonna stop it right there for a second. Try to break it up a little bit. I know it might be, like Ink said, just like a mob boss sitting here listening to the Godfather, which this is the Godfather of manifesting teaching that we're going to. A classy man wearing a suit all the time. So I had to pay some homage with the suit, as you guys heard in the beginning of this. Anyone on the rewatch, this was live when we did this. So anyone who's watching it live, you're listening to Neville live, and you're watching me just sit here and listen. But this is one of his more philosophical speeches, where he's going in about life and death and things like that. But it's almost, he's giving you like a matrix before there was the matrix, right? We're all in the world of the living right now because we have the name of I am. So we're all dead already, and this is just a dream world. He calls it the dream world in other speeches and stuff like that, where you start to realize things are not so serious in life. You can relax and just, yeah, like you said, there is no spoon. You just relax and go about life. Things seem like it's crucial, like it's the biggest thing in the world. Like he even talked about his friend, if you guys were wondering. The guy Jack he's mentioning is like his best friend slash butler slash assistant, whatever, and he was his daughter's babysitter. So Victoria's his daughter. So that's who he's talking about in the story. And he's jumping back and forth between like success stories and stuff like that. Like the woman he's talking about, she had her own success, and he was able to, like, Neville is a true mystic. And I took the name mystic because it was an insult somebody hurled at him, and I heard it through one of his lectures. These two women were making fun of him, calling him the mad mystic on, I believe, 48th Street. Maybe I got the street wrong, but they were talking shit about him. So I took the name mystic as a tribute to him, even though it was originally an insult. But Neville is a true mystic by all accounts of it. He's clairvoyant because he's seeing, and clairvoyant and clairaudient because he's seeing and hearing people who've passed away and having discussions with them. He's also remote, what do they call it? Remote viewing, because he's able to remote view the woman having her success story, but he didn't want to appear to her. He's able to astral project. He's going into like these astral projections. There's another story where I believe he's talking about his daughter, and he projects himself. And it's not in this speech, but I don't think it is. where he projects himself to see his daughter at her apartment, and she sees him, and he goes, "Oh, I know because I was there," and stuff like that. So he's a true mystic and truly mastered the mind. And sorry for the loud banging. Neville's able to do a lot more than just manifest things. So, not to say that we all can't, because what does Jesus say in the Bible? All the miracles that he does, may we do also. My brother needs to stop texting me right now. Um, if you're watching, um, like I said, like Jesus says in the Bible, all the works I do, may ye do also. So Neville's truly out here doing the works, right? He's not just a hearer of the word; he's a doer. And again, the whole premise of what he's pushing is everything's a state. Like when he's calling Jehovah Jesse, Jesse's a state. When he's calling David, like we're all David, right? David is just a name that he's giving to the immortal I am. So instead of just saying I am, he's calling it David. This confused me for a long time too, but essentially everything's a state where, I've talked with Lily about this before when we were talking about religion and stuff. When it comes to saints and stuff like that, saints are each one a state, or as Neville calls all the characters in the Bible, they're a state. We could be in the state. I actually have a note over here of King Saul. When you're in the state of King Saul, you're in the state of paranoia, anxiety, fear, and loss. So one like each thing is either like in the state of Samson, you're in a state of strength or in a state of simping. You never know, whichever state you're in, or a state of redemption. So it just depends. So he's using the names like that. But this is more of a philosophical speech that he's giving, where he's talking about life after death and the fact that when we die, we don't truly die. Our body dies, but our soul goes on. We are immortal beings. We're here, we're a soul having a human experience, as James Van Prague put it. So we're here just living our lives. And Neville's just reiterating that point. We're living our lives. I'm getting distracted because I'm seeing stuff going on my screen from other notifications. Anyway, the point is, if we're a soul having a human experience, we still have the power that God gave us. And he keeps talking about the kingdom of heaven was within. Jesus says that too in the Bible. So if the kingdom of heaven was within, your ideal reality, the life that you want to live, the dreams you want to have, that is within you. And your only person who can give it life is you. And how do you give it life? You give it life by feeling it real. Either it's through visualization, through affirmation, through speaking about it as if it's already a done fact. It's going to sleep with that desire in your heart. That's how you bring heaven to earth. Because heaven is already within you. You're the only one who can project it out. You're the only one that can show other people how to treat you by treating yourself right, by feeling good about yourself, by doing things that make you feel good and honored. So with that, we're going to go back to listening to Neville's thing. I just figured I'd stop real quick, break it up a little for those viewing, and break some stuff down.
God plays all the parts, and in the end, there is only God, nothing but God, and his Son, called in Scripture Jesus Christ. Now, when these early ones were lost, I do not know. No one knows. We only know, if we're honest about it, that we cannot find them. And only as late as the year 1929 did we find the letters of Paul in one body. And they are copies made in the 3rd century in Egypt. And that's our oldest manuscript in the New Testament. And between that date and the beginning, when you think of Paul, scholars are agreed that he wrote his letters between the year 50 and 61 AD, and that at his age he must have departed this world before the turn of the 1st century. Not a word is said concerning anything in the 2nd century, and here are copies and copies of copies. It is all that we have to go by. And any two have such variations. And you can see why. Normal, natural, scribal errors. I know I would make it. You get tired. In those days, they didn't have nice lights. And so you're working under all kinds of handicaps while you make your copy. But fantastic variations. So we have hundreds of them. How to go through these numberless variations and find the truth. The truth can only be discovered if you find these originals, or if someone comes into this world sick, to take the barnacles off and tell by his own personal experience what the story is all about. Well, I have told it to the best of my ability. And that the story told in Scripture is all about you. The God of Scripture, both Old and New Testament, is your own wonderful I am. That's God. There is no other God. His name forever and forever. That is the eternal being placed into the mind of man. And he brings with him the resultant state. And that resultant state is David. And when you've played all the parts, and there are no other parts to play, you've reached the end. And then the brain explodes, if it were, and there he stands before you. And without any word, although he does call you Father, without the use of a word, I don't need my daughter to come home and say, hello, Father, to remind me that that's the same girl that I said goodbye to you the day before. As she comes through the door, whether she speaks to me or not, I know she is my daughter. If David speaks or not, when you see him, you know he is your son. There is no doubt he is your son. And in his mind, you are his father, and there is no uncertainty as to this relationship. So here I tell you, it's in store for you. Everyone is going to experience it. And I can't wait to hear confirmation after confirmation. And I'm so thrilled with this experience of Laura's, where she actually could feel the union, that unity of the two without loss of identity. For all the identity of persons, now, there is a radical discontinuity of form. That's why that one form could house both. As we are told in his letter, Paul's letter to the Ephesians, there is only one body, one Spirit, one hope, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all, through all, and in all. So that one body allowed Laura to feel the unity. For I wear that body. And she, at that moment, she was wearing that body, or she could not have felt it. So it's the one body in the end, without any loss of identity. That's the mystery. How can we, billions of us in this world, and billions to come, and yet they're all numbered? It's not just a matter of numbers coming in. Everyone is numbered, as told us in the 32nd chapter of Deuteronomy. Read it in the 8th verse. He has set bounds to the peoples, according to the number of the sons of God. Some translate the word sons of Israel. But the word Israel quite often in Scripture is used of God. Or the word, if you break it down, Ish Resh El, the man who rules as God. That is Israel. So man all of a sudden awakens and he is God.
So I'm going to stop it again right there. And like Siv says, yeah, I sound a lot like Neville, right? So what he's talking about now is the mistranslation sometimes in the Bible, where sometimes son is translated to son, and what they're referring to God as Israel too. And when you break it down, it actually means one who sees himself as God or acts as God, right? Like you just said. So if we are the observant, or we're the operant power, we are the ones acting as God of our own individual universe, where everyone is used, pushed out, comes into play here, right? God lives within each one of us. The kingdom of heaven is in with each one of us. Doesn't mean that there's not other people here, but we are all individually experiencing the word of the Bible. Like I've said before, the Bible is almost like a perfect instruction manual for manifesting. So we're breaking it down, or he's breaking it down for us, right? Talking about when we finally pass away in our lifetime, we are going to get to experience each state of the Bible. I mentioned King Saul being jealousy and this and that. When you get to the state of Jesus, it's the ultimate loving state where you love everybody. You realize that no one can do you any harm, that you're
you're the operant power. Like he said, Jesus was giving us the best teaching. It's the ultimate love where you're willing to sacrifice yourself on behalf of others. You're you're not worried about what's going to happen to you. You know that the kingdom of heaven is greater than where you are now. We're just going through life. We're a soul having a human experience, and we're going to play the part of every character in the Bible, and that is what he's talking about. That's the cycle of life. And it kind of correlates with like stuff Dolores Cannon said, except she talks about through multiple lives and reincarnation and stuff. And there's another speech where Neville mentions, well, I won't be coming back. And I'll make the same claim too. I don't plan to be coming back. I plan to accomplish everything that I need to and play all the parts and be done with it. It's just like life is a movie and it's a play. And William Shakespeare said this way back whenever he was alive. I don't know, in the Middle Ages or whatever. I don't know that history. I just know he's a popular writer. But when he says all of life is but a play, Neville is reiterating that point. It's all but a play. And a lot of people with near death experiences say, when life is over, everyone is standing there next to their costumes or taking off their costumes, just the body that we have, and that we shed it at the end of our life, but we're still us. We're still our essence, our personality, and everything that we've developed. And we've learned to play all these parts and report it back to God when we pass away, to the higher power, the higher source, the one true God. But there's an aspect of God in each one of us. And it's unlimited power knowing that God's got your back and that whatever you desire, you will achieve, you will accomplish, it will come to pass. It's having that trust in yourself. Because there's another Bible line, like, what you do for the least of my brothers, you do unto me, is what Jesus says. So, you know, if you're treating, like, it also goes for yourself, that golden rule. If you treat yourself bad and you don't respect yourself and God lives within you, it's not having respect towards God. So, not to get preachy and philosophical and too biblical, but I have learned my manifesting from the Bible. I do come from a Catholic background. I learned from Neville, like, breaking it down. Life, and we'll quote Florence Scovel Shinn. I got her book over there too. Life is a game. We're here to have fun. And that's why I say don't miss any little bit of life. Just because you don't have exactly what you want now doesn't mean that you can't experience it in your mind. We have an imagination, but we're taught to kill it off when we're kids. Keep your imagination fun and vibrant and working well into adulthood. And if you let it die off, re-spark up that imagination, because imagination creates. And your natural assumptions, he's using the example of his daughter. If he hasn't seen his daughter in a day or whatever, and she comes back home and they don't even speak to each other, he knows that's his daughter just by looking at her, just by her presence being there. We know who we are just by our presence in a certain place. I talk about your self-concept. You have a different self-concept in each part of life. You go to a certain gym where you're always at that gym, right? You have a higher self-concept because everyone knows you and stuff there. You go to a different gym that you don't know, you might be uncomfortable. Maybe you're someone who doesn't drink very much and you go out to a bar, you're going to be uncomfortable and feel like, oh, what am I doing wrong? Second guessing yourself. Because I was like that too. I didn't drink for a long time and I didn't go to bars and I didn't go out. So when I went out, I had a very low self-concept on myself. If you're someone who doesn't talk to girls, or if you're a girl that doesn't talk to guys, if you don't go out there and speak to people of the opposite sex and you're trying to start dating, it might be uncomfortable. You might be having a low self-concept in that area, but it's shifting yourself. No, I am good at this. Even if you don't believe it, it's another Bible line right now. Let the weak say I am strong. It's not just about strength. It's about saying that you are something before you actually become it. You're identifying with that. You're moving into that state and claiming it before you actually have it. And you might not fully believe it yet, but the more you say it, boom, it's an affirmation now. The more you say it, the more it becomes real. So I'm gonna go back and let Neville take the reins again. But I figured I'd stop it right there and break it down. We got about I think 18 minutes or something left on it. So we'll listen to the rest of Neville's speech. If you have questions again, let me know. Write it down there and I'll stop the speech.
And the only way he would ever know he is that resultant state who stands before him and he knows who he is. He's David. And he is his father. And that is his son. So I say a form or anything on one level may not be true as it is on this level. It may not be true on the next higher level. Or Jack on one level was my secretary, and the one, in spite of his age, who played with my little girl and would throw across the carpet. I thought he'd break her neck one day because he treated her just as though they were the same age. He would sit down with me and I would have martinis. He would always didn't like making mistakes, But if it was free, he wanted it, so he took his martini. I would have 2 or 3 martinis before dinner. He wanted just as many as I did. He couldn't hold them. But with it all, he wanted a huge big box of candy next to him, so I tried it with candy. Martinis, dry martinis and candy. And Vicky would come by and take one of his candies, and he'd push it right straight across the carpet. That was Jack. He couldn't help it. That was his mind. So naturally, when I met him, in the world calls the day. There's no day. It's a terrestrial world, just like this. Didn't take him any time to awaken. In a young body, in his 20s. But he is the same Jack. He hasn't changed one iota. And then to tell Jack why he was here is bad enough to tell him there that he died. And that I actually gave him a good funeral. But to tell him why he was here, do you know that you're dead? Can you imagine his reaction? Well, even the intelligent person of the world today, the brilliant minds, the scholars, could tell them, you have the name of being alive, and you're dead. They'd laugh at you. Yet that's the first verse of the 3rd chapter of the book of Revelation. But until you have the vision and the actual experience, it doesn't make sense. And yet I have seen rooms just like this. On many occasions I've done it. It's fun to see it all animated, all alive, and all carrying on this marvelous conversation, each trying to outdo the other one in bragging. And suddenly you know exactly what they're doing, and you arrest, not them, leave them just alone. You arrest an activity in you, for in him is life. And the life was the light of men, the consciousness of men. So you arrest the light in you, the activity. And all of a sudden, the light goes out. In men, there's no consciousness. They're dead. You go over, you examine them. And everyone is as dead as though they're made of clay or marble. Look at them all. They can't see you because they're dead. And even before you did it, they couldn't see you anyway because you are on a higher level. You do it from a higher level. And on that level, they can't see you. You're spirit, but more alive than anything in the world below you. And all of a sudden, they all stand still. And then, to your own amusement, while they're perfectly still and dead, you release the activity in you. As you release it, they all continue animated once more, continuing their lives. And they're bragging. And that's life. For in him is life, and the life was the light of men. So he came bringing truth. So they asked him the question concerning the truth. He said, for this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to bear witness to the truth. And then Pilate said, what is truth? And he was silent. How could you tell Pilate that he was dead? How did you tell the judge, who was the extended arm of Caesar, that he is dead? You couldn't tell him that. Yet these words, as dictated in Revelation, are attributed to the risen Lord through his voice called John. And so he sends John to the churches, and the first church is Sardis, and these are the words given to Sardis, to the angel of Sardis. You have the reputation, you have the name of being alive, and you're dead. Now, who is going to explain it? I have many, many commentaries at home. I have the grandfather of them all, called the Interpreter's Bible. They are 12 volumes, 6 of the Old and 6 of the New, and 4 of dictionaries. The dictionary does not mention it, and you can read that backwards, and they cannot throw any light on it, because it doesn't make sense. How can you say to someone that there's a possibility that a man is dead while he was alive? And that those who are dead, and they do not know that they are dead. Because I tell you, they're not dead. But they died. And when I say to Jack, you know, Jack, no, you're not dead, but you died. He said, oh, stupid Neville. I mean, I am not dead, but I died. How is that possible? I said, Jack, I went to your funeral and buried you, gave you marvelous Catholic joy. But I did persuade my sister-in-law, who as a pillar of the Episcopal Church could not understand my teaching. She still can't. But since then, she has changed her attitude. It comes slowly from the depth of her own being. Now she's willing to believe in immortality outside of the extension of herself to her children and grandchildren. Up until then, she felt you could only have immortality through the bearing of children and the children bearing children, but that you yourself know you will live in your offspring. And when I said to her, you a Christian, don't you know the foundation of Christianity? The fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, and life everlasting. And you're going to take one of these and throw it away, called life everlasting? You don't know Christianity, Al. Well, she just wouldn't argue with me. But since then, she is now, either because of advancing age, or she's now 70, or a change in some strange way, but it was that change that took place in the depth of her soul. So it's coming up slowly. It takes time. And then suddenly it will all dawn within her. And one day she'll be able to understand me. She came to 2 of my lectures, and in my festival I've been speaking in Greek. She doesn't understand me, but she'll go to church every Sunday morning because it's a thing to do. And so she'll go and hear the man. Couldn't tell you what he said, which is not really important because the chances are he didn't say anything anyway. Talked about getting involved, possibly, and doing this and doing that and doing the other. Has nothing to do with religion. Religion isn't getting involved, it's telling God's purpose. Does he have a purpose? Well, he has a purpose, and he has made it known in Christ Jesus. That's the pattern. It's a pattern man buried in man. And it has been unfolded in me. Well, I'm just telling exactly what happened to me. If one understands it, all well and good. If they don't understand it, take it anyway. And dwell upon it, because I tell you it is true. And the day will come when I've written in my book, which I call Resurrection. When they find those old scripts, if they ever do, they're going to find that story. But we have no script in the New Testament that is beyond the one just found in 1929, a copy made in the 3rd century. And when you consider all these copies and such discrepancies in the copies, and man makes it fit what he thinks it ought to be. I read here recently, in fact it is in the Interpreter's Bible, our great College of Jesuits here, Loyola. And the founder of that college said that to be a good Jesuit, and therefore he means that's the foundation of the Roman Catholic world. To be a good one, if the church tells you that a thing is black, when you know that it is white, to you it must be black.
I'm gonna stop him right there. I don't know if I should just let him play it out, but there's only 7 minutes left on it. But I'd stop it here just to say, again, how things get misinterpreted throughout time, even when it comes down to Neville's content. You got all these people. The whole reason of me doing this series now is because everybody's putting their own spin on his stuff with AI voices, and it's pissing me off. Number 2, just like all the stuff from the Bible is transliterated throughout time. And like you said, the people back then, they were working against a lot of things, against candlelight, against transcribing it multiple languages and stuff like that. Things change over time. But what he's talking about is living your life based off of experience. And even when it comes down to manifesting coaching and teachers and stuff like that, don't just take somebody's word for it. If you've experienced something and somebody tells you, oh, that's wrong because this is the actual right way, but your experience shows you different, trust your instincts, trust yourself, trust who you are and what you've experienced versus all this. He's experiencing stuff. He read the Bible all the time, but he experiences stuff that contradicts the church. He knows the Bible probably better than a lot of the people that go every weekend, just like his sister-in-law. But she started to believe what he said. And again, we're all going to go along this journey of figuring things out as we go along. We're going to learn that God lives within us, that heaven is within us, and that we're the creators of our reality, that we are here to bring heaven on earth. So when we create, you create out of a good, loving energy and good towards all people, not manifesting to be vindictive, not manifesting to hurt somebody else. Because, like Neville says in another lecture, you can do that. But why do that? Why hurt somebody else when you can manifest out of love? So, again, just to reiterate the point, like I said, this is one of his more philosophical lectures. This is the first one I picked on the series that's here on Apple Music. Again, Apple Music, for sure, we have the real one. Now there's another thing up there from Akira the Don. Akira the Don's good, but he's using AI stuff. I get it, because if he's doing music, the audio's fucked up, but I haven't looked into it that much what he's doing, but it doesn't sound a lot like Neville stuff. I don't know if he's just picking up somebody else's AI stuff and putting it there, which, side note, that is a manifestation. I always used to listen to Akira the Don and say, wouldn't it be wonderful if he did a Neville one? I didn't know he was going to do it the way he did it, but, that's how he did it. So I'm just trying to get all this information out there. And like I said, it's just, things are going to change as time goes on. And we got to go off your own experiences. Go out and have a mystical experience. Go meditate. Go visualize for your desires. Go into whatever you need to do to feel this stuff real. So we're going to finish up the last 7 minutes, and then I'll talk a little bit at the end, and we'll wrap it up.
That's the foundation. Don't question the authority of church. No matter how stupid the statement is, no matter how far afield it is of truth, if they say that is it, and you do not question. And here, this is a searching mind in this world, and you're asking questions. When the vision first happened to me as a boy, I wondered, what on earth is it? Why am I synced? I am not qualified. I don't have the attributes. I have nothing. And here I stood in the presence of these exalted beings, in the very presence of the risen Lord. And he embraced me because I answered correctly. But my answer was automatic. It came just as though I were prompted. I heard no voice, but I might just as well have been prompted. It came automatically when he said, what is the greatest thing in the world? And I answered in the words of Paul: faith, hope, and love. These three, but the greatest of these is love. And then the Ancient of Days embraced me and refused and became...
I just got to stop it one more time. He says the best of all the things is love. And what have I talked about and preached about for all this time is unconditional love. How are you going to get love from anybody if you can't love yourself, and you can't love other people, and you can't love them despite the problems that they've had with you or against you or things like that? So again, once again, most powerful part is love. But faith and hope are also right up there in the words of Paul, translated through Neville, through me to you.
One body, just one body. Yet I didn't lose my identity. And I'm quite sure he didn't lose his. But I was baptized at that moment, death baptism, to enter into the body, to actually submerge oneself in the body. Now we have it here, where you push them into the water. They've got to go right down into the water. They think that's doing it. Many of them get drowned that way. I wasn't drowned. I was simply embraced by infinite love. That was my baptism. And then I was sent into the world, wondering, what on earth am I going to talk about? I'm not qualified. I do not have the educational background. I have no background to do what undoubtedly I am under compulsion to do. But in time, the whole thing began to awake within me. And I was moved by compulsion to tell it. And my first night, I think 6 people came. And from then on, it grew and grew and grew as I grew in understanding of what it meant. But that was indelibly impressed upon my mind. I can see it now in my mind's eye. I can see the recording angel before the book, looking at me and then checking off my name, undoubtedly. But she didn't speak. She simply looked and then took that quill and checked it, as told in the 12th chapter of the book of Daniel. And then I came back into the presence of this Ancient of Days. And I could think of nothing but love, infinite love. And then he embraced me. Then I stood before infinite might. And it was he who said to me, time to act. And I was whirled out of that wonderful assembly back upon my little bed. And the room filled with light. And for the longest while, it didn't subside. But what must I do? Time to act what? I had no money, no name, no reputation, no education. And do what? But as time went on, it unfolded within. And then it began to erupt and erupt and erupt. So he selected me to do it. And when the time comes, I am quite sure if it is ever discovered, if they ever find those scripts, they're going to find my story in that book. For that's the true story of the birth from above. You're not born by a change of consciousness, as the world teaches, that you're going to feel something different, and that's your birth. No, it's an actual birth from above. And the child is only a symbol of your birth. And you're born from above, which means from God. The word is anothen. It is from above, but it means from God. Those who are born of God are not born from below, which is of blood, or of the flesh, or of the will of man. But no, this is of God. And who is born is an expansion of God, that's all. His sons are expanding the one. For God, the one, is made up of all of his sons. And together they form God. And he's granting to each God, each himself, the Father. So here, what is true on this level, or any level for that matter, may not be true on a still higher level. Everything here is completely independent, seemingly, of your perception of it. And they go their way without asking your permission, and to do all the things that they want to do, and they do not consult you at all. And the day will come after you ascend that fiery stairway, that you are in control, and you look at the same world, and you don't ask them permission. You simply arrest them. Arrest them by arresting an activity in yourself, which is life. For as the Father has life in himself, he has granted the Son also to have life in himself. And that's the life. And the life is the light of men, the consciousness of men. And you simply arrest it. And it goes out. The light goes out. And there is no light in their eyes, no light in their body. They're dead. Just as dead as that table. You go and you look at them. And they're made of clay. Just like clay. And then you release the activity in you, and suddenly they all become alive, and they don't even know there was an interval of time between that moment that you arrested them and the moment when you released them. And if you had arrested them for 1,000,000 years, when you released it, they would start off at that moment and not know that 1,000,000 years had passed. You would have no knowledge of it. They're dead. But the startling one, to be alive and be dead. To die, and you'll meet them one day, because this is going to happen to you. You can't persuade them that they're dead, but that's all right, because they're not. They're very much alive. So, the thought that a man can be dead, not knowing that he is, that is a startling thought, but not compared to the thought, that possibility, that a man dead while he was alive. You dwell upon it. This may not seem practical to you tonight, but may I tell you, whatever is most profoundly spiritual is in reality most directly practical.
Okay, so that's the end of the speech. Let me see. I think he's going to end it right there. Does he go into the silence? No, that just ends it right there. So again, like he's saying at the end, if the world is all clay and Mama Delia just said it right there. NPC lecture. Yeah, it's like if anyone tries to stop you from doing what you want to do in this world, as long as you're acting out of love, don't do anything fucking crazy, right? Like he says, act out of love always, love everybody, faith, hope, and love. It's just that cliche like white girl thing that goes up in your kitchen, right? Faith, hope, and love. Like, but the love is the most important part. When you start to love everyone and you love yourself, and you don't let anybody stop you from what you want to do. You know, if anybody tells you you can't do something, or you're wrong, or you're stupid, or you're this, or you're that, you mentally arrest them. And by that he means stop them, stop them with your mind. Just in your head, go back, revise it, stop it, whatever. And when you're doing these visualizations, he's talking about viewing it from a spiritual sense where you're removed from the situation. You're removed from all of it and you're just looking at it from like a like you know what I always say, you're so lost in the trees you can't see the forest. You go look at the whole forest. You step back and you take a look and you start to see how things really are. It's like that person has no bearing over you. It's a test of yourself. Do you believe that it's worth it? Do you believe that you're worthy of this particular manifestation to come into reality, that to live that specific life? Then you can. So whenever somebody tells you no, you sit back, you go within, and you remove attention. By that, you're removing the attention too from the person telling you you can't do something, and you're focusing on what you can do and what you want to do, and making sure the camera, the mic's still working. Life is a game. And the only limits that are put on yourself that you might say, I'm this way because of that person, I'm this way because of this situation or whatever, it's all an illusion. You're limiting yourself. You gave the meaning. There's nothing has a meaning unless you give it a meaning. You gave the meaning to that particular circumstance. You gave the meaning to that person that they have authority over you. Like they say, like when you're talking about the church, they have authority over you, but you disagree with something they're saying. So you have to follow through what exactly they're saying, even though you know and you've experienced something contradictory to it, that, hey, my thoughts do create. Then go live that life where your thoughts create. Don't second guess yourself. Don't change it. Hey, if I'm really good at visualizing, but someone's out here telling me affirming is the only way to do it, I know from my experience this is what works. I prefer to visualize, but I know people who succeed with affirmations. Everything is on an individual basis in this world. And nobody can tell you can't do something other than yourself. If you give that person or that idea or that circumstance credit, you're stopping yourself. You're the only one. You give the power and you take the power. So as much as you're giving people power over you, it's on you. That's why I say it's extreme accountability, extreme mental diet, watching everything you say and do, because everything you say and do is from yourself. And everything that you take with everything you take in, whether it's from someone who you deem to be better than you, or a church, or another lecturer, or a coach, or whatever, and you don't agree with it and it doesn't work for you, go within. That's why I say when it comes down to coaching and stuff like that, if you feel a connection with me and you feel that I could help you, okay, then fine. But the point is, you're supposed to be the one who makes all the calls. You're supposed to be the one who lives the life the way you want to live it. And I'm trying to break it down into the simplest terms because Neville is really fancy when he talks. Not fancy, I guess fancy, yeah. But it's like a lot of people, they don't understand it. So it took me a long time. I listened to these things for 2-3 years before I even started teaching. And he talks about like him being called. He goes, who was I when I started? He goes, I had 6 people at my first lecture. It's like me when I started the channel. It's like I had nobody watching. I mean, there's not many original people left. I know I give Inked a lot of credit all the time because I still talk to her regularly, and she's been here since day one. And I appreciate all the people who've been here since day one. But like he said, he goes, in the beginning, without having any authority in any of this stuff, just knowing what he believed and what he went through, he went forward with that and his belief in himself, the belief that he knew what was right and he knew he can help people. And I avoided it for a long time, but he goes, it's an urge. I didn't want to do it. I'm like, okay, if I manifest my specific person back, I'll start a channel. I promise, God. So I'm promising the higher power God, the main God, not the God that lives within me. I mean, it's the same. There's a connection there. But like, I'm like, I promise. But I knew that if I didn't, because of this promise I made to myself and the circumstances I set for myself, I would lose that SP. So after a third time, I'm like, you know what? I feel this call that I need to do a channel. And then I did. And I wasn't going to stay around very long. I was just going to make a couple of videos. And now here I am trying to defend what's left of his work. The final, there's 13 on this album, and I want to say probably about another 13 on the other. So, I mean, we got a half a year's worth of lectures. I'm not going to try and do them. I won't do them every week, but I'll try to do them. Maybe I'll ramp up the lectures or something like that. But if you guys have any questions on anything, let me know. I want to start doing stuff where I speak from the Bible too, and like the same Bible stories he talks about, go through them all and give you guys information on that, along with all the actual success stories we're getting and all the life events that I've had. And if people want to come on and be interviewed and talk about how they succeeded, bring that on. Like, it was great to have Savish the other day talk about all the things he overcame. So there's a lot of great things in this world, and it's just you have to give yourself the self-concept and the belief that you deserve it, and it is going to happen for you. And with that, I mean, that kind of concludes. That's Neville's speech. Those are my takes on it. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Thank you, John. I appreciate you, brother. But otherwise, if you guys don't, I mean, we're 15 minutes over because his lecture is 46 minutes. They're all anywhere from, I think, 36 is the lowest one, up to 45 minutes. So he stayed pretty good and consistent on his lives. Mine go up and down, but we'll get into talking about going into the silence and stuff when we get to those lectures. But I hope this helped you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm going to try to find a way to get these onto YouTube where it's easy and more clear. There are about 2-3 YouTube channels with the actual lectures, and I'm thankful for those, and I'm going to shout those channels out too in a community post. I know that not everybody gets to see the community posts sometimes, but keep an eye out for them. Put on your notification bell, stuff like that. We're live every Monday at noon. I've got a goal to try and make at least 10 videos. I used to make a ton more videos, but it's like at least 10 videos every month. Do the lectures on Monday. This one doesn't really count as my lecture because it's just half with Neville, and I might go live and do another lecture on Muscular Mystic later. So if you're not subscribed to that channel, check that one out. I'm trying to post more on there, and I'll be on TikTok too. So thinking to do a TikTok live later or a couple of those per week. But thank you guys for tuning in and checking it out. If you don't have anything, that's all I got. I love you very much. I will see you for sure next Monday at noon and possibly later, but you'll see me. I won't see you because it will be through a video. And if you're not a member of the Discord, you could join. It's $7.50 a month. We've got a lot of stuff going on there. We've been more active in it. We do lives on Thursdays, which was kind of another point that he made where, manifesting together and stuff like that. You have the faith by when they go into the silence. This is a little quick thing on the silence. Is when he says go into the silence. Everybody has their own assumptions. You're manifesting on behalf of everybody else and for yourself, and you go within and you just focus. And it's like a forced few minutes to focus on your desires and do that. But in our group, we kind of go with the Joe Dispenza type thing. Everybody there, hey, what's your thing? We spend 3 minutes on each person's manifestation, and it's crazy because we've had somebody who was it was inked actually. She had her son was very sick. And then within an hour, the visualization played out exactly the way that I visualized it, and everybody used their own techniques to like manifest on his behalf. And then we had a success story. I don't want to out whose it was without her permission, but another person, she had something that seemed impossible at one point come to pass. Some other people with some health stuff overcome. 2 SP things recently came through from the 2 SP manifestations. Came into fruition from it. So if you guys want to be part of the Discord live, feel free. The link is at the bottom I'll put it in this video when we're done. And with that, I can out you. Okay, Mama Delia had success with, it was you, and then there was somebody else as well. But she got her SP and has a very, and she actually completed, we had a manifesting challenge for a set of money. And I'd say that's more than tripled, quadrupled it, but she made a lot more money than what we were aiming to do for our money manifestation. And I've had 2 money manifestations pop up out of nowhere. It doesn't equal the amount that we were going for, but we still got 3 weeks left on that challenge. So it's awesome. So SP, money, health, all that stuff has come to pass. With that, if you guys want to join Discord, that's down below. So love you guys very much, and I'll see you next Monday.